How do I find out who sent email trying to harass or intimidate me? Hi, everyone. Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Here's the question I got. My son has been receiving harassing email that is sent to his Yahoo account and on Facebook. How do I find out the IP and where and who they are coming from? Honestly, it's frightening how often I get questions very similar to this. It's not always school kids. Sometimes it's family members. Sometimes it's ex-relationship members. The sad news is that it's very frustrating, but the answer for most people is simply, you don't. You cannot. So, what can you do? Because I get this question so often, every time I write on this topic, I'm flooded with more requests, basically similar to this one. Folks have missed the point. So I'm going to be excruciatingly clear from the beginning and again at the end. You cannot trace the origin of an email to an individual, an address, or most times even a specific computer. If there's any hope at all, it requires the involvement of law enforcement. If the sender of an email doesn't want to be identified, and if the email does not identify, perhaps accidentally, who it's from, there's no way for you as the recipient of that email to trace it back to the person who sent it, period. Now, there are sometimes clues in the email headers that you typically don't see. In my article, How Can I Trace Where Email Came From?, I summarize what those headers look like and what you might glean from them. Unfortunately, applications like Facebook and other types of messaging systems, well, they're not really email at all, so that kind of header information just doesn't exist. There's nothing available on any of those systems, as far as I can tell, that would expose anything similar. Using email headers, you can sometimes determine the name of the computer sending the email and maybe its internet IP address. Often the email is sent using web services like Hotmail or Gmail, in which case the IP address is going to be Hotmail's or Gmail's, not the sender. Sometimes the service will include the internet IP address of the machine that actually visited the website, but it's rare these days. But even if you're lucky enough to get the IP address, that's still not enough information. In another article, Can I get someone's name and address from their IP address? The answer is clearly no, at least not without the help of law enforcement. An IP address tells you very little about the real-world location of the machine or machines it represents. At best, you can usually locate the ISP responsible for allocating that IP address to actual users. But once you get that far, you need help. And that's where law enforcement comes in. Their response will vary depending on a bunch of stuff, like the seriousness of the charge, how seriously they take these types of issues to begin with, how much expertise they have, and of course, what their workload is like right now. Based on what I see, with the sheer number of requests I get, I can only imagine that an already overworked justice system will be hard-pressed to give you any answers. Your best bet may be to use methods unrelated to email, such as, in this case, your son's school's social structure and dynamics, perhaps with the aid of the staff there to determine who might be responsible. In situations like this, it's tempting to have a knee-jerk reaction that anonymity, and in particular, anonymous email, is evil. Honestly, political dissidents, corporate whistleblowers, and other individuals with important and sensitive information to share will disagree, as would I. Email, anonymous or otherwise, is simply a tool that can be used for both good and evil. At the risk of offending you with some redundancy, you cannot trace the origin of an email to an individual, an address, or in most cases, even a specific computer. If there is any hope at all, it requires the involvement of law enforcement. Do involve the authorities if the threat is serious enough. But as unsatisfying as it may be, you may not get the answer you're looking for. For updates, for comments, for feedback, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/3333. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.